Well, hey there, welcome to the show. So I guess I'm going to talk about the Canon C70, what we would like to see in a Canon C70 Mark II. I think the number one thing that I'd love to see in the Canon C70 is, I know this would be very difficult and would take a fair bit of engineering because you would actually have to be able to move the mount, would be a drop-in 0.71 times adapter for EF glass. So basically have an RF mount, but be able to move it to drop in a speed booster so that you could mount EF glass and get the benefit of the speed booster, or even the ability to move the mount to drop in a focal reducer and still have an RF mount, right? So that you could use your full frame RF glass on the C70 with a built-in focal reducer. That would be great. I know that takes a lot of engineering, and that's a whole hell of a lot to ask for, but that's like a dream feature, like a built-in focal reducer, a built-in speed booster, built-in like changeable mount. I know that that would like make the front section thicker, but if that could be done, this camera would be so versatile. Another thing that I would like to see in a Canon C70 Mark II is the ability to add in presets.
Editor Eric here. So this is where I have to let you know that this was test footage for something else and I didn't plan on making this video. Some of these suggestions are things that could definitely be added to the C70 through firmware updates, like this one. Now back to your regularly scheduled program.
That I would like to see in a Canon C70 Mark II is the ability to add in presets. So something like you see in the Canon mirrorless cameras where you can basically take a snapshot of all of your settings and put them into a custom mode. It's so handy in the Canon mirrorless cameras, as well as other cameras like the Red Komodo, where you can go through the menu and basically pick everything that you want to save and save it as a snapshot, almost like I'm used to for an audio console for working in theater, where you can snapshot everything for different use cases. Another feature, the ability to record through the USB-C port to an SSD. That would be fantastic, especially if you could record RAW from the SSD port. The USB-C port is currently underused and seems just to be used for network adapters and remotes at the moment. Like, it would be great to be able to charge the camera through it. I guess that's not as necessary, but definitely the ability to be able to record to SSDs through the USB port would be fantastic. The ability to override the audio gain controls with digital for repetition and precision, because these dials for audio gain are very touchy. Like, it's great to have an audio dial, and I don't want to take the audio dial away at all, but to be able to just type in what you want, or to be able to snapshot it in a custom mode snapshot and then be able to load it to the audio gain would be fantastic, and you would need it to be a digital instead of an analog at that point. I wish slow and fast mode would always default to 120 frames per second. Whenever there's like a frame change or anything like that, slow and fast mode seems to default to a matching frame rate. What I'd really like is for it to default to the highest frame rate, because basically when anybody's going into slow and fast, they're going to slow motion. They want the 120 frames per second or something close to that. I have a feeling that nobody's going into slow and fast to match their frame rate. So I would really like if it would default to the slowest frame rate as opposed to a matching frame rate. More touch buttons along the left side of the screen. I would really like to see a couple more touch buttons, maybe even like custom touch buttons along the left side of the screen. You know, because you activate the touch screen with the button in the corner, it would be nice if you could, you know, pop open and have custom buttons. Better joystick. The joystick is shit. I never use it. I never got used to doing selecting with the joystick on the other C cameras, so I've been using the rotary dials to do all of my selecting through the menus. And it's actually, like, it works great, but yeah, joystick sucks. Do better. Do better. High quality dials. The feel of all of the dials kind of sucks. Like, so I've got the Canon RP and the Canon R. The dials on this feels worse than both. It feels kind of like in line with the Canon T6S that I've got. So it's like a plastic feel on all of them. It would be nice to have like a beefier function dial. So the default for that function dial is that it's always turned off so that you don't activate it by accident. It would be nice if it was just beefier so that you could leave it on for something. Or, you know, the bottom control dial. It would be nice to also use that for something too. A couple more buttons behind the screen. The way the screen gets folded in and covers the audio section, I feel like you could put in a couple more custom buttons. That section is fantastic, but there's still space there so you could put a couple extra buttons. Notice how I didn't say like 12-bit 8K RAW? I feel like 4K is a happy medium for RAW and the Super 35 sensor right now. If it went up to 6K, I think I'd be happy with that. So like the data rates on the me, I'm pointing to the Red Komodo. The data rates on the Red Komodo are a fair bit higher than the Canon C70. Now I know that has to do with, different codecs and whatnot, but like sometimes I do end up recording on the Red Komodo in 4K just to save that data. I don't want to, go out to a shoot and record a terabyte of 6K footage when I can record a half a terabyte, just over a half a terabyte of 4K footage. And the Canon C70 recording 4K footage is, actually pretty good. If it bumped up to 6K and you had the ability to like switch between 6K, 4K, 2K and still have the same frame size, unlike the Red Komodo, that would be fantastic. But this camera has been fantastic as it is. I don't really want to like nitpick it. I feel like they knocked it out of the park. It's a great run and gun camera. Really, I'm just saying features that would be nice to have in the next version. All right, that's it. If you like these videos, please subscribe to the channel. Have a good one.